Are you new to CAD and want to learn how to use variables? Today I'll be designing this for a project just using variables. So my desk setup at home is not ideal. It's just two monitors on a desk and a whole bunch of clutter. And I'm a little tired of it. So today I'm going to fix it by printing some legs and using some boards that I bought and stained. And I'll be making a desk stand or monitor stand to raise my monitor up and give me some storage. So let's have a look at my plan. All right, so I have a plan, and that is to use two of these shelves and make some risers to keep them like this. And just I've already done it. I'm filming this after I've made these. So I've already made this kind of desk or screen riser table little thing once before for my girlfriend's setup that I did in a previous video where I turned her laptop into a desk drawer. Not my best video, but it works. And I did realize when I designed those that I could do this fully using variables, and I also said in that video that I would make this video about how to design these. And so yeah, I'm gonna show you each and every step of using variables in a design and how they can help you quickly change your designs as long as everything is mated correctly and all that stuff. This is a introduction to variables. It's not an advanced tutorial at all. There's a whole different world of stuff you can do with variables. This is kind of the easiest way to use them. So let's head into the computer, and I've already done this, but I'm gonna send you back in time into my computer and show you how to make these. So back to the, I don't know, desktop, I guess. So I'm at the desktop and I have a drawing. Let me pull that up on the screen shortly. And I've already designed this. It's all complete. I want to make sure that this works before I actually tell you how to do it. So I have the finished product, so I can show you some of the features. Yeah, so let's go to the desktop. And so first of all, this is my sketch. Now, this is a sketch of specifically the measurements that I need. However, all of these measurements are going to be a variable because that's what this video is about. Get it? But I have my general measurements. I have the general shape in mind. As I just said, I've already printed this. I know that it works. So I don't have to prove the concept. I just need to teach you how to make this concept. So first thing we're going to do is press create and document, and we'll just name it something. I'm going to hit cancel, but you are going to hit create public document. I am going to go into my existing file, and just to show you what this will be able to do and the fact that it's not a limit what I'm doing here. There's a lot of variables that you can change, even the basic shape of this. So instead of having just a giant cylinder, I tried doing the exact same thing with different shapes. So I made a square and a hexagonal one, and they look great. The variables all work. So let's go back and look at this thing.
So this is the general shape that we want to get to at some point. There is a hole in the bottom that is chamfered right there. That is because I'm using a wood screw. My particular wood screw is chamfered. And there's only one screw per leg. I've already built this once before on another setup, and it works with just no screws, to be honest. But this is a much heavier screen, so I'm adding just one screw. If at some point I realize that I need one more screw, I have an idea to make a top I can print later if I need to. That'll fix into this top part. Now, the thing about variables is that it's easier for you to customize your designs while you're building or after you're building it. So let's say I need to change the outside diameter of this. I need something bigger. So I'll find my variables that I made. I'm going to show you how to do this. And I'm going to change this variable, just this variable, instead of 40, let's do 60. So not 600. So 60 is quite a bit larger than 40, and the model will automatically update with the new measurement. Same with the wall thickness. So let's try to increase that to say 5 millimeters, and the model will automatically update. I've done a couple of different things with the variables here to show you some of the things you can do. This is just an introduction. This is not the complete guide. But let's say we set this back to 40. And I want you to notice this fillet right here. Notice that the fillet is the exact same size as the thickness of this wall. Now, if I change this wall thickness to 2 millimeters, so it's less than half of what it was, the fillet will still be the same. That is because the fillet is following the variable. So let's go back to 3. And there is also a variable here that I made that is total height. Now, this won't change anything. This is just a reference so that I know how tall this is. So I'm going to design this and show you and try to explain quickly how and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So let's start by creating a new part studio. Now, if you would have pressed the new document, this is where you'll end up. Now, remember in CAD, there's a lot of different ways to get to the same end result. This is how I would design this part. Others might want to design it differently. So just keep that in mind. There's not always a right or wrong way to do this. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create all my variables. Now, I have a rough estimate of what I need. Actually, I do have the exact estimate of what I need, but I do need at least 6. So I'm going to, while I'm in my sketch, in here, I'm going to hit variable at the top right or top center, and then I'll name this. So this is important later on. This is the reference. So I could call it just X, Y, or any word basically. To make this easier on myself later, I'm just going to call it what it is. So this is the diameter. And personally, I like all caps. And I'll set this to a value. I'm just going to build my design, so I'm going to use my measurement. So I'm setting that to 40, and just to make that clear, this is the outer diameter of this ring. Next, I'm going to get the thickness of the cylinder. So that would be 3 millimeter, this measurement right here. And I'm going to create a new variable. And then I'm going to set it, call it just wall underscore thickness. Now remember, you can't have space in these names. There's no spaces. So I'm using underscores. And I'm setting that to 3. So next, let's go back and look at my actual part. It's the board thickness. So it's the thickness of the boards that I'm using. You might be using different ones. So this is a pretty important variable. So let's call that board thickness. And I'm going to set that to 16. Now, the next one is the distances between the boards. And I'm just going to start from the bottom, and you can set this to anything. This is the great thing about variables. I can set all of these to the same number and change them later. But I'm just going to say, call this first. Just first. Let's say just first. Brain fart. So just first. 50. Okay. And then I'm just going to call this second. Let's set that to 40 to make it look different. And then we have that little top piece. I'm just going to call that top. And I'm going to set that to 10. Okay. Now that is all my main measurements, the ones that I need to make the sketch. I need one more, or I want one more, and that is the total height. This will help me making sure that I can print this on whatever printer that I need to print it on. So I'm going to create a new variable, and then in name, I'll call it total. And in value, instead of entering a number, I'm just going to enter my previous variables. So I'm going to use that thing that I can't remember the name of right now. And then I'm just going to start entering all of my values. So I'll do top and enter, and then plus. And then I'm just working my way up the list right now. So second, and then plus, and then first, and then plus, and then I'm adding board thickness, and then board thickness again. Just because I have 2 shelves, so I need that board twice in my equation here. And then I'll end it with one of those things, and then I'll hit OK. So now I know that the total height of the thing that I'm going to make will be 132 millimeters. So if I change my first one to, let's say, 65, my total height changes as well. All right, so let's start sketching. So I'm gonna hit the sketch button, and then I like to just remove these. I find them more confusing than helpful in most cases. And then I'll press the top because that is where we're going to work. Now at the top right, this is my little navigation viewfinder thingy. I'm just going to press the text that says top, so this gives me a top-down view. Now I'll make a circle just by hitting center point circle, and I'll make it that big. And then I'm going to create, let's see, so I have these dotted lines in my sketch. That is the center lines. And I want this little shelf that I'm making in here, I want that offset to those lines. So let's create that. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go to construction so that the lines that I'm making now won't be affected by what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to make one line. I'll press line again twice to make a new line. And there we go. Now I have my general shape, but I want this, as my sketch says, I want this to be offset by 2 millimeters. I could make this a variable. I could take the diameter and then divide it up to something that I like. I won't do this here. I think 2 millimeters is enough anyways. So what I'll do is I'm just going to hit offset. Let's remember to turn construction off. And I'll offset these two, and then I'll press this arrow. That'll switch them. And I'll click outside of here. I'll hit 2 and enter. Now next I'm going to add this little screw hole that I'm added, and I don't want that in the center. It's too close to the edge. I want to push in a little bit. So I have an idea, and what I'll do is I'll grab a line and construction, and then from here, from this little dot in the center, I'll just make a line roughly there. And again, this could be a variable. Don't think it needs to be, so I'm just going to set this to 10 millimeters. By not using a variable here, it would limit the range of my thickness or my diameter of the cylinder. I don't think I'm going to go smaller than 40, so not a big deal. So I'll start adding in some measurements. So first thing is I'm going to add in an angle. So let's go to dimension, and I'll press this line and then press this line. Now that gives me the angle, and I'm really close to 45. That's a little bit satisfying because I want my hole to be 45 in from there. I'll add in that little circle at the end, and I needed that to be 4 millimeters because of the size screw that I'm using. Now let's start using some variables. So let's say I'll hit the dimension tool again. This outer diameter is the diameter. So that's all I need to do. Hit enter twice and it automatically resizes. Now have a look at these two little fellas right there. Now these turn up blue right here because they're not defined. The endpoint of these two are not defined, which means if we make this circle bigger than those endpoints, the function won't work. So I want this to always follow that circle. And I can do that quite easily by pressing the coincidence tool. And I'll press the little blue part and then the circle. And that's it. Let's do it on the other one. And there you go. So now if I at any point change that number 40 to anything else, let's set it to 60, these two will follow. Okay. So now what we need is the wall thickness. So let's go back into our sketch and I'll create a offset. And I'll offset this circle and I'll invert that offset. And then I'll call that wall thickness. And that means whatever we change in the variable on the left changes in the sketch. And that is actually it for this first sketch. So from here, what we want to do is we want to create our first part. So this part right here. So I'll go in to my extrude tool, and I'm just going to extrude the wall, but I'm also going to extrude this little part right here. Now the depth of this is a variable, so let's do first. All right. So that's our first part done. Now let's keep going. So I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to create it on top of this part, meaning it'll always stay on top of this part. So I'll rotate to the top again, and there's a couple of different ways to do this. I could just project, so whatever is below it, it'll keep using that same one, or I could not use the project tool, but I can use the sketch tool, because I have all the measurements that I need already here. So let's just use project, and I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'll actually remove this part to make this easier. So this is my first sketch, but I'm on my second sketch up here. So I'm going to use just that part. That's it. And hit OK. Now, because I used the project tool, whatever changes on the first part of this will change on the second part. So let's add in the bottom, and let's use the extrude tool, and let's set this, instead of depth, let's set it to board thickness. Okay, so that's our second part, and let's just keep going the same way. So I'll create a new sketch, and then I use project, and this time I want the entire circle, and I also want the entire inner circle. Hit OK, and extrude, and select those two. Now that would be second. And let's keep going. So I'll create a new sketch again, select that top of that part, and then use the project tool, and I'll select just those. I think I selected, yeah, I selected the outer one. I don't want that. Okay. And then exit and extrude. And this is board thickness again. So in theory, you could add as many shelf units as you want to at this point. And right now I just need the top. So let's do sketch on top of that part, use project, and let's grab the two circles right there. And we are done. Let's call that top. And that is actually the functional part almost done. So I have one more little thing that I want to do. Now I'll remove the first sketch, and I'll add in a new sketch, and then I'll select the bottom. So I need to create the little hole. So that is the little hole right there, so that I don't need a super thick screw. I want that a short distance, and I want it to stay a short distance no matter how tall this is. So let's grab the construction tool and then project, and I'll just press once on that circle. That gives me this center point. That is what I need. And then I'll make a bigger circle, and I will call that 8. And that is my sketch. So complete. Now here's my trick. I want this hole to stay at a certain measurement. Now let's hit extrude. And then I'm just going to select that part and it'll try to extrude, but we want to remove. So I'll set it to, instead of blind, I want to reference this face right here. So set it to up to face and press this part. Now it'll go all the way through. We don't want that. So let's offset that. And I'm going to offset that by 6 millimeters. And if I now hit OK, this hole will start at the bottom and go almost all the way through, but it will stay always 6 millimeters from this reference line or plate surface. And that is looking good, I must say. Now, the just the final 2 things is actually 3 things, because I want to make this pretty. I can't help myself. So first thing is I want to chamfer that hole because I'm using a wood screw. Most of them have a chamfered top. So I'll just hit chamfer and I'll select that inner ring. Let's set it to 2 because there's a 4 millimeter hole and an 8 millimeter hole. And the difference between those divided by half. So that's 2. So that's 4, 8 minus 4 divided by 2, that's 2. And then let's make it pretty. Now I'll select my fillet tool, and instead of radius, I'm just going to set it to wall thickness divided by 2. And then I can start selecting all of these edges. So that is the important edges. And the top, there we go. And you might say that that looks complete, and it actually is kind of complete. I want to make this easier to print. So I'll grab a new fillet. I'll set it to 2 millimeters. So this won't change depending on my variables. And I'll add in a 2 millimeter fillet to these inside pieces. That'll just make it easier to print. Printers like those curves more than they like those hard edges. And then I'll add in a 0.5 chamfer. So let's do 0.5 millimeter chamfer to the entire bottom. So if you have issues with elephant foot, this will remove it completely. And then I will also add in a chamfer on these little guys right here. Because we need to print this with support, and that first layer might not be as good. So that'll kind of hide that first little layer after the support. And there we go. Now let's try it out. Let's change the diameter to 100. Big boy. Yep. That works. Let's change the second one to 102. Big boy. And then let's set the wall thickness to 1. So now I have a fully scalable model that I can easily go in and make revisions. I can share this. I can print this for people, and I can really quickly customize the shape and size of everything. So I'm gonna print out the other 3 of these, and let's clean up this mess. So I was editing the video and I thought that I could improve the file or the link that I'm going to share. So what I've done is I've made a mock-up of the entire thing, and it's just these 4 legs and 2 boards. And the boards do scale with the assembly. So if I go into my board and change this variable here and set it to 1,000, that will scale the actual board. If I go back to my assembly, it'll still scale. So I've also, so this will just help you visualize what you're building. If you have something specific you want to put in this model, you can do that quite easily. Now, the only thing that doesn't scale, and that is because there is some feature that's not in OnShape. You can add it in as a plugin, but I want to keep this completely normal stock OnShape. And that is the fact that this board, it's using variables, but it cannot use the board thickness from a different part studio. So that is a limit. So just keep in mind that if you change this part right here, the board thickness, let's set this to 26 instead. Now it'll change on the legs. It will not change on the board. So it just won't look right. That's not something that I can fix without having you install custom scripts, but that would be another time, I guess. Now, what I also wanted, I did say that I had an idea for how to secure the top if you want to. I did create this little cap. It's just a single screw. It screws into the top with the same hole spacing from the center as the bottom piece has. This would just cap off the top of your little foot here. I put it into the assembly just to show you how it would look. Now you could, so this little lid piece is using the variables, so it will scale according to your actual foot. And also, if you wanted to make it look even better, you could remove this top chamfer here, make it flat, and it'll sit flush. So, time to build this thing. Or this is some time traveling stuff. I don't know anymore.
And done. I've printed all of these on my Rook Mark 1 that I have in my apartment. And yeah, it's the advantage of having that tall build volume, tall and skinny build volume, I guess. Prints came out mostly okay. I'm not happy with my support setup. There's a little bit to be desired, but once these are on here, won't be noticed. So for these prints, not worried. I didn't take this one off just because I wanted to show you how satisfying this is. So let me approach. So this is the automatically generated support in Orca Slicer, and I just love how easy it is to take off, and it kind of looks funky. Even though with the one on the inside, I'll just pushing it out. It's so fun. If you haven't seen it, there's a contest on printables way back on designs that would make the coolest supports. Have a look. It's okay. Let me quickly see if I can get this just looking right, and then I guess I have to go and tidy my desk. Now this was designed specifically for these boards. Like I showed in the video, I did put in a variable that you can change all of the sizes by just changing a couple of variables. And so if you want to build this and you have different boards than I do, it should be quite simple to open that file. I'll of course share all the files. Just open the file and change the variable that you want to change. Let's see if I can get this installed to a point where I can set it up like that. Now I'm gonna screw this in because I did make room for that set screw. The screw isn't really there to hold any weight, it's just to keep these on so that when you move this thing around, the legs don't fall off. So there it is. It's as simple as that. And I also have a little USB hub, SD reader, and a audio output that I want to have on the front. This is normally mounted to my monitor, kind of like that. Genius little thing. I'll leave a link to this in the description. And just because I have this, I wanted to adapt it to fit onto this design. So I made this printed piece that goes in instead of the monitor, and the clamp piece just pops off and there's a ball. So the part kind of screws in. So I can screw that black piece into my new desk setup, and I'll have my handy dandy little USB plugs available. So I'll get the screws in, I'll get this installed, and I'll head over to my desk and start getting this mounted, I guess. So I'll see you in whenever. I think we can all agree that this is a whole lot better than what it used to be. Yeah, I'm really happy about how this all turned out, how easy the design worked out. Everything just fits. I put my little USB hub thingy majig here, easy access. I use in-ear monitors with a 3.5mm jack, so this is why I have this here. And all of my other USB devices are plugged into either the back of the computer or the back of the monitor because it has a USB hub. So I got a new really big felt matte desk pad. Never used one of these before. So far, after a couple of minutes, it's really nice. I'll have to see how it holds up in the long run, but it was nice and cheap. And yeah, the light is for filming. It's not there normally, but now I'm considering getting a light back there because that looks really cool. Yeah, hope you liked the monitor stand, and if you want to check out the model, I'll leave a link to printables page where I'll put these, and also a link to the OnShape project so you can customize it yourself. And yeah, I'll leave a link to the desk pad and the USB hub if someone is wondering, down in the description. The boards I bought locally, so I can't give you a link for that, but the design is flexible, so you can do whatever you want. So at some point I want to make a speaker to go in here, so let me know if you have any suggestions on articles or any videos about making your own speakers. I would be interested in learning some more about that. And yeah, so now I have this little party piece. So I have my full desk. I can do projects and other stuff at my computer. So, if you like this project, please hit that thumbs up button. It does make a difference. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and maybe let me know what you didn't like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. That really makes a difference. And I will see you in sometime, I guess. Bye bye.